Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Pardonable Podcast. This is episode 57, and I'm your host, David Lilly. And I've got a very special guest today, and I'm not going to do so much of the housekeeping up front, but before I get to my guest and tell you how awesome my guest is, I got to show you something. So, remember when I was telling you guys about like my Pardonable merch and stuff like that? Go there and buy a T-shirt to support, or like and subscribe. You can do that too. But if you're like, man, I really like this guy's art and I love his merch. I ordered a T-shirt just so you can see. I do it too, and so this shirt's actually I'm going to pull it down. So I designed it right, and I finally got my sample in, and it turned out great. And so if you go to pardonablemerch.com and you're a big fan of Loki or you're a big fan of other stuff, I got some other cool stuff coming. And so um I yeah, did I say that right? Pardonablemerch.com. Yeah, okay. All right, so my guest this week, very special guest. He's an entrepreneur and engineer, a public speaker, a scholar, a mentor, um, and much more. And to be honest, truthfully, I've been trying to do this intro thing where I actually put out, a decent introduction, but this one I really struggled with. And the reason I struggled with it is because his CV is not just extensive; it's lengthy. And man, his credentials from manufacturing all the way up to like tech and business industry, like it's not only impressive, it's intimidating. And so I was trying to write this down. I was like, you know what, the best way I could do this is just give you a basic introduction to this guy. And I would have went through the whole thing, but we all know flattery is the tool of the devil, and I'm no devil nor am I a tool. But I will tell you one thing he's known for. Has this moniker of being one of the most influential guys that you've never heard of. But to a privileged few, we know him as Michael Giuliano. And so this is my guest this week, Mr. Giuliano. Michael, what's up, man?
How you been? Thank
Good,
you for
man.
having me.
Was that a decent intro? I know you got intros that go lengths, and I was like, I don't know if I could do that to him.
I'm here with
I
you.
love too
This is
much.
this is friendly. I'm here with you, so I'm happy to be here. I actually I'm this is my honor, so thank you for having
Oh,
me.
well, you should be honored. You should be very
Yeah,
much honored.
absolutely.
Hey, man. So I've got a ton of topics to talk about
Mhm.
with you, but the first thing I want to do is with that moniker. That I could have done a better intro, but that moniker, uh, world's most influential guy that you've never heard of. Do you like that, or are you like, man, that's kind of disrespectful, or it's a sleight of hand, like a kind of a, a knock on you, or are you like, no, that's pretty cool?
I think when it's authentic and the person that gives you the nickname, right? If someone calls you fat and that was like your because you were chubby, you embrace it. If it was a
Yeah.
bold bully at the playground, then no. But um, Jay Klaus, one of my favorite people, he wrote an article some time ago, and he's turned into superstar status. But he wrote an article, and he that's what he put. Um, I embrace it, and I think a lot of people have borrowed from it. I don't take it as a slight because the nature of what I do for a living um, has always been a new product. So, taking something out of your brain, making a physical one, and then putting a barcode on it and, getting it out to the masses, it's really discreet. And you don't get to tell anybody what you're working on. You can't tell
Yeah.
people, hey, this Christmas something's coming out, right? You can only talk about it after it's done. So, anytime you're doing new product or product development, there's that. Then, when you do stuff, maybe you're going in and helping a company out or doing something, that's discreet too. Because if they were to bring you in to do whatever your magic is, and they told the stock market, the stock would either go up or down. But point is, you have to be discreet about that. And then on the military or some of the special forces or whatever, you obviously can't talk about it. So,
Yeah. Well,
um,
you can, but there's repercussions.
yeah, 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 yeah. I like to be on your podcast. I like to
Yeah.
be out and
If you
about in
got
the
any
real world.
If you
So,
got any
so
intel that you want to break on my podcast, you're more than welcome to. Just don't get me arrested. Don't share any
yeah,
detailed information on Twitch while you're streaming video games. That's never turned out well
exactly.
for anybody. Um, do we know what happened to that kid? You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, but no, I don't know. No. Mm-mm.
I don't think we're supposed to know. I think it went
Mm-mm.
real quiet with
Well, I
it.
can tell you what's something interesting. There's right now everybody's worried about getting hacked and all that stuff. And recently there was a casino hack
Oh, that's
in
right.
Las
I heard about
Vegas,
that.
and I got interviewed on a certain network regarding cyber warfare. And then that developed into a lot of questions about, well, what about Telegram, or what about this, or what about that? And I said, if the servers are here, there's a back door.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they said, is there any anything that's not like Chinese? Because then the alternative is, some things made by China. I said, there's one Swiss company that has the servers in Switzerland, and it's secure. It's like SEKUR, and they have VPN, email, and whatever. They're the only ones that don't have a back door. And so that's kind of cool. And then,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not endorsed by them or any of that stuff,
I was
but
about to say, is this
some
product
people
placement?
use it, but some don't. And so that's kind of cool that you can have a good VPN. It's Swiss based, blah 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 blah. But yeah, all these apps, they're always listening. There's back doors, and you just assume you're being recorded all the time.
Well, I try. I mean, if I could monetize the CIA listening in on my home device, then I would. I don't mind them. I don't mind it. I'm sure they're having a blast. Like, God, this guy just rants. You think I ran on the podcast? You should hear me when I'm like making my coffee in the morning. Tons of delicious rants. And I should just start recording that, putting it up on my YouTube channel. Probably do better than me trying to write introductions out and then flubbing them up. But so I didn't even mention like half the when you say like manufacturing, and you're pretty discreet about that. But I went through the laundry list, like going through your background, went through your LinkedIn, and I was like, are you allowed to be on the board of this many companies? Like I was literally, I was like, does this count?
If they pay
Um,
you, yes. If
if
they
they
pay
pay
you, yes.
exactly. But you've worked with like Apple, Xbox, like stuff that I knew. And normally I was like, he's probably worked in industries I've never heard of, which you did. I was like, I don't even know what this is. But then there was a bunch of stuff that I was like, oh, I know a lot about this. And well, I don't know a lot about it, but I now know that there's like a ton of devices in this room that you probably had a hand in. And
Mhm.
that's pretty rad. But the thing that I loved about you in this aspect that people are going to get to know if they've never, which no one's heard of you, is is as far as being entrenched in like the business and the manufacturing and the tech and you being influential and I mean public speaking and meeting with professionals that play in sports. You are, and don't take this as well. Now that we covered the whole influential man no one's heard of, you're a salt of the earth kind of guy, man. Like I've talked to you for a few times for a long while. You're a salt of
Hours.
the earth
Yeah.
for hours, yeah. And
Yeah.
and you don't come off. You come off like a nerd. Let's be honest. You're a nerd, but you're a salt of the earth kind of nerd. You're like
Yeah.
the farmer who knows how to record TikToks. I guess it's the best. I don't know how to. Who just likes Star Wars, you know. Um, you're salty. Did that start, man? When you were, is that? Do you think that's just exact? There you are. There we
Hold on,
go.
hold on. Yeah, I had to for your Star Wars. Most of my friends, when they send me gifts, even little Lego one. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
up in the
That's
corner.
why I
Yeah,
put it here for you.
yeah,
Yeah,
buddy.
a little Star Wars shout out for you.
I hide all my other toys off to the side so no one can see the extensive Star Wars collection. I try to pretend. I threw some books in there, just be like, people need to
Mhm.
know I at least think I read. Because if it's nothing but Star Wars stuff,
And you
then
have to do this. You have to do this. Just
oh yeah, yeah. Oh, that
you
was the one
have to
thing.
buy Pardon Will
You gotta buy my
merch,
art.
art, and everything.
You gotta be. That was the one thing on your CV I didn't see. Art collector. You're technically an art collector. Well, I mean, I'm sure you were beforehand, but now you're a real art collector because you have one of
Yeah.
my pieces. So yeah, man. But that salt of the earth thing, dude, is that have you always been that way, or is that something you had to lean into, or where'd that come from? Just
No.
growing up?
I mean, straight up, I don't see myself. I mean, you're aware of who you are and what you are when you get through different phases of your life, but humble beginnings, pretty strict dad. He always told me that somebody out there is way better than you. So learned,
He just pointed to your brothers. Oh, no, just playing.
yeah. So, more or less it was, humble beginnings. There's always somebody bigger, better, faster. I played 4 sports through high school, played a little bit afterwards too, in college. And there is somebody that can always knock you on your, you know what, and then in school, um, however smart you are, there's always that next level. So you might be good in high school, you go to college, humble. You do well in college, you go out in professional world. There's always that. There's always
Yeah, yeah.
somebody bigger and better. And the sports that I played, one of them was football. And just when you start moving your mouth is when that big guy knocks the wind out of you, breaks your
Yeah.
ribs. So, humble pie tastes the same for all of us. So, as you get older, maybe you have a little bit of business success, or you do something in your job, and then you go to the airport and you see somebody that's in
Yeah.
20 magazines. Maybe you're in 10 of those magazines. Now you're in that guy's airport. It never stops. There's
It
always
never
somebody
stops.
bigger.
Hmm.
So if you're a look at me guy, then yeah, that's most of the world. And then social media came in and went nuts. But if you're more of a we, like we, the team, you believe in team concept, you believe in family, you believe in bringing the people up with you, then at no point in time is it about you. It's
Yeah.
never about you.
Yeah.
And then you start having kids and family. At no point in time, it's about your children. Zero times is it look at me. It's always look at we or look at the other person. Measure success in business. People think it's dollars. Anybody can go make money, but can you make other people make money? The measure of who I respect the most is not the guy or gal that went out and knocked out their goal and happened to make money, because there's plenty of really successful people that die broke or failed, or they didn't do, it's not monetary impact. What
Yeah.
happens if the 10 people under you are all double digit millionaires? What happens if the kids you teach become the scholars that make the next thing? So again, it's never about you. And so I believe it. I teach it, and I'm a t-shirt and jeans guy. You'll never see me with fancy stuff.
Yeah. They well, I was just thinking of that one for because there's that often saying, I don't know who well, there's 2 sayings. The first one with the humble pie, I mean, it was Mike Tyson who said everyone thinks there's somebody till they get punched in the face or knocked out,
Mhm.
which is totally true.
Yeah.
It really is true. But the other thing, and I was always told this, and I've kept to this. I mean, I'm keeping to it right now. But
Mhm.
there's a saying that says, "Make sure you're never the smartest person in the room, because if you
Yeah.
are the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room."
Yeah.
And so I try to keep good company, specifically for that. Normally, I'm the dumbest person in the room, and I'm like, that's either my benefit or someone's just really kind, and letting me in. But I think about that. But what you just said, and because from the outside looking in, when you see people at the top rising to the top, of course, there's always bigger fish. There's always going to be a bigger
Yes.
fish. But from the outside looking in, you're like, it does seem like narcissism could be a great mechanism to move you further up the ladder. But from what I'm getting from you, it's like, nope, I don't think about myself. And if you don't think about yourself, is it just more long lasting success? You're moving up because you're bringing people with you, and those people help you move up, or what's that
Well,
narcissism thing? I mean,
you look at it, your success is temporary, whatever it is. I think there's a commercial on TV. It's not my original thing, but it's something that I repeated to my youngest or my firstborn. Um, Usain Bolt trained 4 years to run 9 seconds.
oh yeah, I guess that's a good
I
point.
think that's perfect.
Yeah,
If you have to really enjoy the process of whatever you're working on. If you're a painter, enjoying the process of going through every brush stroke, composing, getting better. If you're an athlete, you got to enjoy the film, the preparation, the weights. If you're in business, it's learning new techniques, benchmarking, whatever. The whole process is what's fun. And when you expect to out prepare everybody, the game takes care of itself, or the job takes care of itself, or the speaking. If all you do is shoot jumpers all day, the game's easy.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
That's a good point.
so I think that transcends everything. So when you really enjoy the process of preparation, setting goals, and then you're going to fall down, you're going to do whatever, you get up, all the cliche stuff. But you really have to enjoy Monday through Friday so you can enjoy the game on Saturday or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I think the same for work or education or anything you do.
Yeah, do you think that's a part of delayed gratification why
Yeah.
it comes
Yep.
easy for some people? Because to me, like, I've always been a bit of a delayed gratification guy,
Mhm.
starve today to eat large tomorrow, whatever.
Yeah.
But that's
Well, you
not an
think of
easy.
anything. Oh, go ahead.
No, no, you're good.
What I was going to say is, if you're honestly, to anybody that's listening, if you think of anything, you close your eyes and you imagine what's the most important or most valuable thing you have. It wasn't easy.
Yeah.
It was hard to get. You probably had some trials and tribulations. The stuff that's easy, you don't put a lot of value to. If stuff's given to you, whatever it is, when you earned it, um, that's probably going to be the thing that's more valuable. Something that you just get, you don't appreciate, and it's kind of hard for you to appreciate.
Yeah.
Delayed gratification is one of the best indicators of success for people when they're young, when it's not more me now, when they're able to do this and not do this crap. Um, yeah, delayed gratification is everything. That's a big indicator on leadership and success when you build teams.
Yeah. I wonder because I was reading a book and someone brought up in the book they were talking about teaching kids at a young age to play chess. And the whole point of that is not so they enjoy the game for sure and they learn how to play with rules and they follow guidelines, but also for them to think way ahead. So if you start to ingrain that, but a lot of that thinking way ahead is delayed gratification because you're always going to want to try to get the queen off the table and then the king. But really, if you think about it strategically, you need to go for the knights and move your pieces. I didn't learn. I mean, I knew how to play chess, but I didn't play growing up. I wish I had. That was a lesson I had to learn in the long run when all the things that I, worked for, or if the things I want, basically what you said, if I got it too easy, I learned quickly. I didn't really value this. This wasn't.
No.
It wasn't even something. And to be honest, too, this is something I think about a lot because I believe. This is a weird side rant, but you're going to go with me, Michael. I believe a lot of the world's problems, especially when it comes to like young men and the youth, especially in our country, and we were having a conversation about this not too long ago. What the waywardness of a country? Why are we having all these problems with these
Yeah.
mass shootings and stuff? And it's a cliche to say, but I believe it has a lot to do with purpose. I think it's listless people not having that purpose, not finding that. And when it comes to delayed gratification, or like when you have to earn and work for something, you start to. It's not so much. This is where I come from. It's not so much the thing I get. Like if I work hard and I save up and buy a car, and I'm like, I got the car. It,
Mm.
if you start to spend time with that, you start to realize actually, I'm proud of myself. Like because I worked for it. And I actually enjoyed the ride with it. So it wasn't always like gotta suffer today just so I can get the next thing tomorrow. You start to learn to use those things. Like if something if something like if my Jeep breaks down, the other day it happened. And I was like, I gotta jumpstart this thing. Never jump started a vehicle before. I had to jumpstart it. And I was like, this is great. I know now I've just never ran into that issue. I was like,
Yeah.
now I know how to jumpstart. But then I was changing starters. And of course you have to YouTube. I'm not a mechanic, I'm a woodworker by
Mhm.
trade. But even at the end of it, it's like, God, I feel if I would have brought this to a mechanic, sure, it would have got done, probably would have got done right, but now I did it myself and it's done wrong, and I'm proud of that. So, but yeah,
And you
I
drove
always
home, so it was good
I drove
enough.
home. I drove
Yeah.
home and made it all the way, but I wonder how often we don't give people an opportunity to work,
Yeah.
to find purpose in that, and to feel like it was worth something, that sacrificial thing, and that's where I come. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think it's just a lack of purpose, or you think it's way more intrinsic than that? It's built into the
I think
society.
that these things really mess people up because by nature, you have greed, envy, jealousy, lust, all that stuff, and it doesn't help. It doesn't make anybody better.
Yeah,
Now, when you shorten the attention span and it's more me and now, um, you get these people, and the reward system is that dopamine hit from those little crackpot machines. And I couldn't imagine being a girl, but
yeah,
a guy. You have grown men that have to flex and flash and show a fake facade, and they're worried about being popular, which doesn't make you great.
yeah,
When people start a company, they're worried about getting followers, but none of them are customers.
Yeah.
So when you look at stuff, if you worry about being great, all that stuff takes care of itself. The money falls from the
Yeah.
sky. The homecoming king is always going to be the cool jock, and the pretty girl is always going to be the queen. Uh, it when you put in some of the work, you get it done. The results happen. Being popular doesn't make you put the ball in the hole. Being popular doesn't make you ace a test. Having a lot of followers. What happens if you sell Rolls Royces? I don't care how many followers I have. Rolls Royce doesn't even have art advertisements. They put their
They
their
don't need
cars
it.
in
Yeah.
shows.
Yeah.
Their marketing is they
I didn't
bring
think about
Rolls.
that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Rolls
Oh, wow.
Royce doesn't have a commercial. No, they don't go, oh, 10 miles per gallon better than a Chevy truck or whatever. Rolls Royce puts their car at private jet where they sell private jets. Why? Because that's like a little add-on for the private jet.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, dude, can you imagine that being an add-on? It's just extra. Is it the private jet, leather seats, Rolls-Royce? Okay, I like that one. It's like when people buy the Corvette and it comes with the jacket, except for this time, it's another Corvette. So,
Of course.
I think about, that popularity thing. So I was just you're gonna like this. I was just having a conversation with a friend of mine today, actually, this afternoon, because me and him, we chat about once a week because 'cause he's got his own business and his own thing, and he started with the YouTube thing, this whole but he's a new podcast. He just makes videos. And, he's a merchant by heart. Like, he's just great at finding, things people didn't value and turning it and making money off that, and he loves that stuff. So he's like, "I'm gonna start using YouTube videos to kinda train people."
Mhm.
And we were talking about this whole YouTube my little humble podcast and all the things that I do. And we were, talking about how people gain audiences because that's been a big thing for me because I've always done art and the way I've pushed my art was a very specific go to art galleries. There's a very specific path that I went down, which worked out great. But then the internet happened. Well, the internet was happening. I just wasn't paying attention. And then I found out, and then COVID forced me onto going, this is how you sell art now because no one's
Yeah.
going in person. And so I had to learn a whole new strategy on how to use my craft and use the internet. But then I found out very quickly that you're only as good as how many eyes can even see you. And so that was a big issue. And so me and him were talking about, how many people subscriptions, that's why every YouTuber is like and subscribe because the more eyes, then at least it's a better chance of pushing product, quote unquote.
Mhm.
But the problem, and he brought this up too, he's like, "What would happen?" This is an ongoing conversation, so this is I'm skipping to the end. He goes, "What would happen if you got dropped, 500,000 followers on your YouTube right now?" He goes, "Dude, I would collapse. Me personally, I would probably I'm not prepared for it. Like, yeah, I have like four. Yeah, I got a merch store, but it's not well suited for that. My website's put together, but it's not good for this much channel, that much traffic." Um, and I would like to have at least better I wanna get better at my craft. Like, if I got like, I'm just now working on, like, I should get better at my intro so people take me seriously. If you imagine if I got 5 million followers, like, months ago, I would be scrambling, like, "How do I make a thumbnail?" Like, it would've been awful.
Yeah.
And so, I the popularity thing, if that was this I couldn't imagine um, seeking popularity and not having anything behind you. And that was the point. He was bringing up. He was like, "There's tons of people who go viral and then they fumble it. They fumble the ball because what do you do then if you have nothing behind it?" What are your thoughts on that one?
That's most people. I'm going to maybe venture into uncharted territory on the podcast.
You might
There's
be on
a bunch of women, we'll just leave it there,
okay.
that take the same 3 or 4 selfies in Dubai and said things, and they have the same 2 or 3 purses and whatever, and they say they're models. Well, I never saw you in a magazine before. You're not sponsored by Louis or Hermes or any of those. Oh, I know what you do for a living. Okay.
Yeah, it's
Um,
the follower, but there's no content. It's kind of like
no,
me. That's- I'm just playing. No,
um,
I don't
and
think of
then
myself that low, but yeah,
no, but there's a lot of fake hype, and that's the thing. Anytime there's fake hype, it's short lived.
yeah,
And in some cases, no pun to the other reference before, but you're disposable. It's a one time use thing.
mm,
If you're
that's a good point.
great, great. Muhammad Ali is still watched today, still quoted today. People still respect him, even if somebody could beat him or not beat him, whatever. Michael Jordan, anybody that's amazing, Da Vinci, anybody. There are people that are great, and their greatness and their impact transcends time. It transcends generations, and you could like them or hate them, but the hate and the love are for the exact same reason, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's
Just
because there's
because
somebody you're
people are good
not.
and great. If you're
Yeah.
not, if you're not great, if you don't have haters, you're not there yet.
I'm working on it. I haven't said anything too controversial yet, so I'll get there one day. I, this the idea of popular this is kinda weird though, right? Because if you think politically, the whole let's just shift over into the popularity thing, because I
Mhm.
mean, Trump is popular. He's
Oh
considered
yeah.
the populist movement, and I
Mhm.
think I know why he's popular. At least I have a pretty good, uh, thumb on the pulse of why I can see why this guy's popular. And then
Mhm.
there's a lot of people who aren't popular, um, but they're not great either. And
Right.
so I'm not sure how to how to square this circle, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Is because popularity has something to popularity kind of seems like the fruit that grows on that tree. Like Da Vinci. I mean, he could have died and no one known about it, but his stuff was so good it outlasted. You know,
Yeah.
like Michael Jordan could have never got the shoes. Still would have been pretty awesome. You know, like I
Mhm.
mean, I would assume he'd been the same awesome. I don't know if the shoes how much of the shoes are part of his success. I still think he's just a great basketball
I
player.
have a big problem, I'll tell you. Right over there is a closet, and there are, I won't say, but it's a closet just for his shoes. Some of them aren't opened.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
that
they're
that makes sense. Is he in there too, holding like holding? He's just hanging out in there with
no,
his shoes.
no. Tyler, my man Tyler Collier of Laced Up Customs, he did a nice pair. He made me a custom pair of Air Jordan 1s to
Oh
wear to a
wow.
prize fight, and the outside was done in Ferrari suede.
Oof.
The inside was two, one for each shoe, Chanel lambskin, softest leather. The in between padding, because he knows I like Star Wars, were Star Wars pajamas from a thrift store.
Oh, awesome.
Then he
Okay.
embossed
Oh,
the
nice.
ball and the wings into each one. And there's an 8 minute YouTube video of him making my Jordans
Yeah, yeah.
before they went to the prize fight. So, yeah, pop culture and, stuff that transcends. When you see Jordan, nobody that's born now or, nobody in
They
high
know.
school now ever saw him play.
Yeah,
But they all know that Jordan means that you better be pretty good if you're wearing his stuff.
yeah. I and that's where that whole uh, that's where I always back up on the not back up. I follow in with that greatness thing, and almost to the
Mhm.
point where we were talking about success at the beginning.
Yeah.
What do you think? I mean, this is a dumb question, but do you think Michael Jordan be happy with himself even if he wasn't as popular but played the same game?
Yeah.
No shoe deal. You think so?
He didn't give a shit about being popular. He wants to humiliate you. Him and Kobe, same brain. Those they say in the interviews and stuff, but they wanted to make you reconsider your profession. They wanted to humiliate you,
I love that.
embarrass you, and they want to lock you down on defense. They want to run the score up on you. They are relentless. And the thing that those two guys had in common is that those guys didn't have 10-point games. Those guys didn't have, you know, losses and finals and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Those guys beat everybody on the biggest stage. They hit every MFN shot and they dunked on everybody all the time. And they humiliated people, which if you think like boxing, knocking someone out cold is humiliating them.
yeah,
In
yeah, yeah,
basketball, those two players were like prize fighters. They literally knocked whoever was guarding them or the team and just humiliated them and flattened them. You don't see that in a lot of sports outside of
yeah.
boxing.
So that actually makes sense. I mean, that seems like it would be a moniker for success of anybody. And there was
Yeah.
a famous comedian, I don't know if it was Chris Rock or Kevin Hart or somebody, and they were talking about, I think they were talking about, cancel culture.
Yeah.
And they brought up is like, "That doesn't exist to those who are undeniable." Like, it just all you
Mhm.
have to do is be undeniable. And I've
Yeah.
that's stuck with me. I was like, "It doesn't matter what you
That's
do."
Trump.
Yeah, then that's where it circles back, is where you can't you can't do anything to the guy. Not only is he funny, he can take a joke, he just knows, but I think it goes back to he knows people. He knows how to play the game. He knows how to be undeniable, and that I think, that's the thing that I think people don't get, and I think
No.
very few people understand that, like, when you're not just trying to be the best of the best, you're trying to be the only one who plays the game now,
Yeah.
and I don't know if people understand that concept, because if
Mhm.
anybody just wants, and it goes back to the magazine thing in the airport, we're like, "Oh, I gotta get up a ladder," and then there's somebody up above you and somebody, but there has to be a point where you reach this plateau of being like, "I've knocked everyone out. There's no one left." Like, if you're a boxer, you literally knocked everyone out.
Mhm.
That could be does that sound like, if you're starting off, like, coming off the bottom, is that something you think you learn, or you just go, "This is the kind of mindset I'm gonna have," or do you have to
Well,
develop, like,
I
do
think
you
some of it's how you're wired, right? Everybody's
Yeah,
different how they're wired. Then there's some nature nurture stuff. Um, but if you come from not a lot, um, you don't want to be there. It's not
yeah,
cool. Like
that's
you
a
look
good
at like
motivation.
some of the hip hop culture or whatever, there's rich kids that rap about the hood. The people from the hood, nobody goes back there.
Yeah,
Nobody wants to go to poverty. Nobody wants to see violence. There's nothing cool about being broke. There's
mm,
nothing cool about violence. So if you come from here and then you get to here, you sure as hell don't want to go back here. If you start getting up here and now you have kids, you don't want your kids to ever see this down here.
yeah,
So I think for some people, it's not really a choice. And when you're comfortable, comfortable is the enemy of greatness. And
mm,
I think
yeah,
there's a lot of people that are very comfortable, and you see a lot of people who are maybe on one side.
the left.
Um,
Oh, is that what you were pointing to?
yeah, did I say?
Someone on the left of you? Who are you talking about? No, I don't know.
I just
I
call them what's left.
what's left?
But
That's kinda
it's
true.
funny to see people say, "Screw capitalism" and "Go for this," and they're sitting there, trust fund kids, Lucky Sperm Club. They're
Yeah,
wearing Gucci shoes, $300 jeans, Hermes chain wallet, and and their $30 coffee, and you're just like,
yeah. I mean, that's that limousine liberal kinda thing. Uh, uh,
yeah,
I I I've sat for some time trying to figure out that, and I couldn't quite put my finger on why people are like that, and I think it's because it's so outside my realm. It's just not something, that
they don't want to compete. Here's what happened: you're special, you're special,
do you
you're
think that's it?
special. Yeah, I definitely think it's it because they're little and everybody's little and they're happy little kids, and then maybe they're not as tall or as fast or as smart, but they have the material stuff and they value material versus merit,
Yeah,
and they don't have work ethic and they don't have to accomplish anything. They get pushed out of the nest to fly, and they've been flying around on a jet all day and they think that they could fly and they can't. And now it's I got lied to, and they get that anger, and now it's I can't be you, so I want to tear you down.
yeah, well, that's a good point. I didn't think about that
They
one
know
too.
that
So
they can
maybe
never
that's
be pardon will, so they're
That's
like
true, they
F them.
can't.
And that's because they suck. And they know they suck. So it's just validating that they're what's left. They're
That
not the
they're
people
what's
that are
left, yeah.
oh, did I say that again?
Yeah, you said it again.
Um,
That's fine. I like that. I will see what I always got from it. I was like, either there's this weird sense of, guilt, but it's guilt where you don't, it's like, I know I'm in trouble or I know I did something wrong, but I don't want to
Mhm.
fess up to it. And so
Yeah,
what I'll
yeah, yeah.
do is either point the finger just to keep like what that's that stupid saying where like if there's a finger pointing, there's always four more or three more pointed back at you. I
Mhm.
think it's a little bit of that. I think it's a lot of narcissism. I think lack of
Oh
merit
yeah.
breeds narcissism because there's really only one commodity at that point in time. If nothing's based off ability, like oh, did you? Let me finish this thought, and then I'm going to ask you a question. This is why it ties in. There's nothing based off ability, so you're only playing with certain chips, and those chips are really just affluence. And so there's nothing there. So all you can do is virtue signal. That's one of your chips in your deck. Flashy. You can uh, status symbols, stuff like that. Like these are all
Mhm.
the chips in your deck. So that's all you have to play with. While everyone else is on the side, like I don't care what if I drive a 20-year-old vehicle, I'm pretty awesome. Like you're not gonna find anybody who can do this. And then it's people playing with a totally different side of the deck. This is something that I thought about. Did you ever watch the show Succession?
Yeah.
Did you ever see it? Did you finish it all the way through?
No, I didn't.
Can I spoil it for you?
Yeah, go
Okay.
ahead. Go ahead.
It's not a big spoiler, but I watched the whole thing, and, I actually did a podcast where I mentioned it, where I was talking about, like, these people are so focused on keeping the company alive, they let their family fall apart, and I was just but that I tied that show in with Yellowstone, and that whole concept, and then if you go back to, like, 1883, the first one, where it was like, he didn't even care if all he cared about was family, um and it was just I was trying to juxtapose, the mentalities behind, groups of people when they focus on certain things, but throughout Succession, they're always if you pay attention to the background, like, if you really are paying attention, they're always like, "Oh, screw dad, we're gonna split off and we're gonna make our own company," and then they describe the company you're making, and I'm like, this is a weird way to write this because that's not even that great of a what are they doing? They're just reinventing Uber and a blog? And then but they never bring it up. They just like, "Here's all my ideas for this company. This will show dad that I can run the company if we create this new viral thing." They constantly bring that up. And at the very end of the episode, where they're all like at the very end of the season, very last episode, they're all arguing about who's taking what and who's taking over, who's gonna lead. And then one of them, my favorite one, Macaulay Culkin's brother,
Yeah.
he just and excuse my French with this one. He goes, "What are we doing? You guys know we're just bullshit. Like we're not real." And he
Right.
called out what I was thinking. I was like, these people, they have no skills.
It's
Like
fake
running a
hype.
company, it's just fake. Like they're not, and that's what their dad said. He was like, "You're not serious people." And the reason he
Mhm.
said that is because you don't know what it took to get here. You don't know what it takes to maintain
No.
it. You're just pretending. You're pretending to be CEOs. You're pretending to be entrepreneurs, even though your bank account's overflowing. You could have done anything with it. And you're coming up with
Mhm.
reinventing vlogging, and I just love the end of that because one of them
Yeah.
just comes self-aware and is like, we're not any good at this." And it was such a great show. Sorry if I spoiled the end.
No, that's
Um,
good. That's good.
but I think about that, and sometimes I wonder how painful it has to. This is my bleeding heart that comes out for the left and the liberals. It's
Mhm.
got to be painful to only be able to virtue signal because you don't even know what virtues are.
Yeah.
They're not even real to you. You don't really know what hard work or merit is. So there's a whole section of life that is fruitful, and you never get to participate in it because you never got a chance. You just sailed away on a gold plated private jet, and I actually feel bad because I don't think that's a life worth living by any means, even if it is filled with Louis Vuittons and 24 karat golds. Anyway, that was a long rant, but that's
Yeah.
that's where that's where I think that virtue signaling, capitalism, social, we need to get everybody equity. Everyone needs to be on equal playing ground. What they're not telling you is
I've never seen a shark go, "Hey, you're smaller than me. Let me go eat the fish, give you all the fish, and then pat you on the back and say, way to catch." No, a shark, there's we don't get eaten anymore. You talked about Yellowstone. There were people that every year worried about surviving the winter.
yeah,
And if they didn't prepare once, game
just one
over.
time. Yeah,
One time.
one
Didn't get
time.
enough wood, didn't get enough this, didn't the bison weren't in the right place, whatever it is, it's game over.
Yeah,
So you had to be humble. You had to know that all that other stuff doesn't matter. You needed to be about the we and not the me. Um, that that was 100 years ago. That wasn't 1,000 years ago. That wasn't too long
yeah.
ago.
Yeah, hopefully that's not in our future, but I mean, weak men create hard times, and it looks like we're heading straight for those hard
Very
times.
much, yeah.
I'm glad we're all in agreement about how difficult they might get ahead. I do think here's the thing, and people I bring this up on the podcast about, I thought about making a segment where it's called Prepping with Dave, where I just show like I've got a cool backpack that I put together where it's got like first aid
Mhm.
stuff in it, just for fun. But then there's part of me it's like, it's not for fun. It's for just in case. Like I have a freezer full of meat. That's fun to have, but it's also that's kind of just for case.
You need it.
Like you're gonna need it. And if you don't need it, that's cool. Like come Thanksgiving, I don't have to go fight people over turkeys. I got a few. Like either way.
Right.
But I think that preparedness, that's that delayed gratification thing again. And
Mhm.
anytime I see a prepper, it's just over exaggerated delayed gratification where he's like, I'm gonna send all my savings on this underground bunker. Um, because he's gonna be satisfied come the nukes.
Yeah.
If they don't come, then he's just got a cool man cave. Literally a cave. Um, but yeah, I worry about people. I think that's my sympathetic nature. I think
Mm.
there's a lot of joy that comes in suffering and that hard work effort. Have you seen all the crazy viral videos that come out where people are like, I had to work a 9 to 5, and when do I get
Yeah.
time to live my life? And it's no wonder that people sit back going like, are these people okay? Because
Mhm.
there is no reality of which that should ever exist.
I
Um,
work 5 to 9, not 9 to 5,
yeah,
and then I work after that too,
yeah, yeah.
and
No, yeah,
I don't
that's
know any
true.
different.
But the thing that I think they're missing out and they'll never get a chance to is the joy that comes from
Yeah.
that merit. Um, I'd like to say that builds greatness, but there's got to be people you brush shoulders with some elite types. Do you find it's a mixed bag? Some of them are merit based, some of them are flew in on a Louis Vuitton jet. Um, or is it like, no, there's a particular grain in people that you tend to just run into? You
If
don't
you talk
name
about
names, don't
elite,
throw anybody under the proverbial bus.
if you talk about elite, elite is elite for a reason. It's because there's one of them,
Oh, that's a
or
good
one
point.
of him or her, right?
I might have been
There's
more of
such
a general sense. Anybody above me, which is like half the population. I'm just playing. Um,
I would say the common thing with the people that are elite, um, there's nobody else like them, but also whether they have flaws or not, they know exactly who they are, but more importantly, they know who they're not. And
okay.
instead of asking people what they like, I think they're the people that you would see that are top of what they do, they know exactly who they don't want to be around. They know what's a waste of time, and they have a very small circle, but the circle is really high quality people. And
Yeah.
usually the circle that's around them is totally different than them. You don't see another variant of them. So
Really?
you'll see great athletes that have a dietitian, a shooting coach, whatever, a mental thing. The best have people totally different than them. Um, and they know what they're great at, and they have a singular focus on sharpening the hell out of that and drowning out the noise and being present. So people that can be present. You look at creative people, there's a common theme. If you sculpt, it takes time. You're using your hands, you're creating something. You picture something before it's there. You work towards the goal, you do whatever. But it's you're present. You're
Yeah.
painting, you're present, you're drawing, you're present. You see elite athletes, they're in the moment, they don't get rattled, they're present. You see a great speaker, they're present. You can think of, your favorite person. For me, it's going to be my mother. Hello, mom. I love you, mom. Embarrassed you again on
Hi,
a
mom.
podcast. Yeah.
Hi, mom.
Um, my mother was always present, and that's what she taught me. Whatever is going on in the world, there's nothing better than presence. That's the best thing you can give somebody is your presence, your time, undivided, and just that's the
Amen.
greatest thing anybody can give to somebody else.
Yeah, you'd have to think that's a pretty high currency as well. I mean, the common cliche is time is money, but not only is time money, but you're right, attention. Um, that's a super big valuable. That's a huge thing for at least for me.
Mhm,
I'm an active listener. That's why I'm good at this because I'm in it. Like I'm in it to win it, and I want to get to there's like gold in conversation. Every time I have a conversation, there's always gold to be mined out of, but that only comes from active listening and moving. A few guys I work with and people I'm friends with, they know a few things about me, and one of them is I'm awful at small talk. Um, I just like to
oh,
cut
I
to the
hate it.
chase.
I can't stand it.
And it's not that I know how to small talk, and I know when I'm meeting a stranger, or in a setting where it's somebody I'm unfamiliar with. I understand it's a feeling thing out, but if I've known you for a long time and you call me up like, "Hey, man, how's your day going? It's going pretty good. Now let's talk about let's go." Because
Mhm,
it's. I mean, I say time is money, but time is. I'm always doing something. So if I'm answering your phone call, or
mhm,
Michael, if you're sitting down on my podcast you intentionally did. This isn't on accident. And if I answer your phone call, we're in the middle of this. It's not that I've got 30 minutes to kill and I'm bored. Let me call my friend. Um,
mhm.
that rarely happens in my life. And I think people kind of got sick of the non-small talk thing for me. And so now it's just kind of cut to the chase. I'm a pleasant person, Michael. I don't know if you know this. I am pleasant. I sound awful. I sound like a complete dick, but I'm not. I'm a pleasant. I'm a
I
pleasantly.
think people are getting you look at, just generically, without saying which ones or whatever, you look at what people valued was conversation, meaningful conversation over COVID, and you saw the rise of social audio.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
there's some people that capitalized it, whatever. But I think the social audio went, we're so connected, but we're detached. And what we value is good conversation
yeah.
with diverse people, whack job train wrecks, or just people that have shared values. But we want to talk. We don't give a
Mm,
shit what you look like. We don't care, your accomplishments or whatever. And I think social audio that you see on several of these apps, um, it's filling a need and a big void. They don't want to consume media anymore. They just want to talk with people, and that's it. And you see that a lot of over COVID, um, a lot of new friendships were made, and it wasn't based off of what they look like or their work status. It was just people who were together.
yeah.
And you see that a lot of good friendships, meaningful friendships. I know with the rise of some of the social audio that between two of the main apps that are there right now, I've probably met through traveling and stuff 300-400 people face to face off the app,
Oh wow.
uh,
Yeah, yeah,
multiple cities in the U.S. and also outside of the U.S. Uh, less than 100, but more than 70 probably outside of the US when I travel.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you meet people, you have a friendship with them. You're cheering for them. It might be casual or whatever, but the thing that I really like is if I go to the UK, for example, and somebody runs an automotive factory and they're like, dude, come over here and check my factory. Well, guess where I'm at? Bentley.
yeah. Oh wow. Okay.
Or guess where I'm at. I'm up in crew at Rolls Royce, and guess what that
Yeah,
turns into? Some work.
yeah.
So it all
Super
comes
cool.
up from conversation, from doing this.
Yeah, but active conversation because we've all had conversations with people that are not not there. I mean, not there as in like they're handicapped. I didn't mean that. Being
Yeah.
like not there as in they're not participating. They're not in that conversation with you. Like they're halfway listening and that's a good telltale sign. Like people always talk about like the eye. Well, this is scripture. The eyes are the window to the soul.
Hmm.
And I kind of feel like the mouth's the window of the heart. And the only reason I say this because scripture talks about it's not what defiles a man, what he puts in his mouth, but what comes out of it defiles the heart. And so I think the mouth is tied to the heart. And I think that's
Hmm.
when you get to know the people the quick, especially in long format, like the social audios that you're talking about. But truthfully, even in these, like I started the podcast out as a way to just to help sell other artists and creatives and get to collaborate and share and talk and maybe network. But the thing I've gotten the most out of the podcast personally, and this is why I went to YouTube and I'll start doing videos, because I got phenomenal conversations. I would write notes as I'm going through. I was like, oh God, this is good. This is good stuff. And it would alter the way I did my own craft. Even if I'm talking to a photographer or somebody who's running for office or somebody who, writes books, all that stuff correlated in some form or fashion um, into my own art, because you you can tell when you do a podcast somebody and they're nervous, but when you
Mhm.
do this face to face and you're looking at it, they're not doing anything else. They're not playing basketball, they're not playing poker, they're talking to you. And I
Mhm.
think that can unlock it. What I'm trying to say is that can unlock it anybody, because most of the people I interview are artists. They're introverts. They don't get out, they do their craft by themselves, and they never really get out of the house. They don't do that social thing. So the reason this is ties back into the collateral thing is because artists, they don't really, because they're introverted, they don't really get out.
No.
um to be able to express themselves is always through the craft. And I was listening to a podcast you were on before, and you were talking about, like, I'm bringing this all full circle. You were talking about a lot of nerds. You work with a lot of nerds manufacturing. They'd be like, this product does this, and they start listing off numbers. And you brought up, was like, that's half of it, but the other half is you have to be able to communicate that in simple terms to an audience so they can understand you. And that's where I got the correlation when I was hearing that. I was like, that's the same with artists. I had a gallery for a little bit, and they would show their art, but people would come in and look, and they didn't really know how to do this. Like, this they didn't have this currency.
No.
But I did. And so I was like, as the gallery owner, I'll step in. And so
Mhm.
I would talk to them, and I kind of know where they are because I can reach my hand into the artist realm and be like, all right, I think I know where you're coming from with that piece. And then I could sit down with anybody, walk through. It's like, I love that. And I go, I can probably tell you why you love it the same way why I love it. And here's why I love it. And it would sell art. And so that this act of listening, paying attention, what we're doing right now, there's some serious value to that, especially when it comes to manufacturing or being a nerd or being an artist.
Yeah.
Um, how much would you attribute that to just overall success?
Um, I would say in business, Japanese taught me when I was about 19. The closer your ear to the customer's mouth, the closer your hand is to their wallet.
That's
That's
genius.
product development, sales, and marketing right there. The
Yeah,
closer my ear is to your mouth, the closer my hand is to your wallet.
yeah, that's
Well, but
genius.
there's the masters right there.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
that's some samurai stuff. I like that. I think it's undervalued, to personally, but that just comes from where I'm at in my life and the people I work with, the people I run into. And that's the thing that I enjoy doing this, because I'm not the greatest communicator of all time. I'm not the greatest painter of all time. And one of the conversations I had way earlier on with a guy, and oh, I'm sorry, I'm stumbling over this because in my head I'm moving multiple circuits because I know where my next question is. Um, Having a conversation about how to divide your time up. Like, I'm a better artist than I am a podcaster. So I have to be real cautious with how do I categorize my time. And if it seems like I'm doing something that's a waste of time, then I'm going to cut it and then move it, move around those things. But the thing I kept running into is podcasting makes me better at my art
yeah.
in so much that it develops this communication. So if I can talk and I can articulate what I'm thinking, then I can do it on painting too, and I can use those both, utilize them. And so now the intro of my podcast, like, hey, buy a t-shirt or go to my website and buy my art. So not just a
Mhm.
monetized way, but it actually helps me with my craft. Do you agree, or you
I
totally
agree.
disagree with
And
me?
no, here's why I agree. When you realize that you're not special, you're one dot, and there's this giant blob called the world, and
Yeah.
how unimportant you are. You're important to your mom, mommy and stuff. You're important, to your children and stuff. But in the whole, you're just a dot. You don't actually matter. When you realize how much you don't matter and how limited your time is, now it's I don't have a lot of time. So the time I have spent, I don't want to be busy. I want to be productive.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
when once you get out of school, people stop learning, and then they wonder why they're not advancing in life. Now, maybe it's learning a new hobby, learning about their craft. Everybody, and they tell this to little kids, but it's true. You get around of a lot of accomplished people, they don't try to flex, or people that are great, they want to go, you're great. We do the about they say, but that one little thing that you do different, I want to know why you
Yeah.
like that, what that does for you, why waking up, why drinking water, why, doing meditation, why whatever it is. Being fascinated with greatness outside of your own, I mean, within your own, you admire it because it's in your lane, but really seeing everybody's doing the same thing. They have something that they give a crap about, they
Yeah.
make or do something. But the people that produce a good, like physically make stuff in reality, no fake hype,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's always an appreciation for, I see what you're doing, and it's never comparative. It's always like, oh, I see how they do use this tool, or I see how they sketch this out. Or recently I saw a young man who goes and he takes a look at big scenes, and he does it on a typewriter. Have you seen that on social media?
He does artwork on a typewriter. Yeah, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So he'll do like the whole downtown scape. He'll do portraits, whatever. And he just and it whatever's in front of him. So everybody sees
Mind blowing.
different.
It's called stipple or stipple. It's where people actually just do dots and they'll paint a whole picture of dots. But he's
Yeah.
doing it with a typewriter. Mind blowing.
With the typewriter, I was like, I haven't seen this yet.
That's that thing where I sit down and go, "There's always someone better than me." That's for
But now
true.
you look at it and you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. I can incorporate that into something I
Mhm.
do next. Or I see that technique. I do that, but maybe they hold the brush a different way, or they do.
Yep.
If you are with somebody and you take away nothing and you didn't learn anything today, you literally wasted the whole MF day.
Yeah, you lost. You lost in that particular
Yeah.
category. But that's it goes back to there's always out of any conversation, if you listen close enough, there's always gold to find. You just have to dig for it.
Mhm.
Um, this is a thing. So I studied Christian apologetics for a long time. I don't bring it up on the podcast that much, but it comes up every once in a while, especially like on social media apps or social audio apps like Clubhouse or something like that. But what I always and I hear because I listen to podcasts, I always hear these Christian apologists. All that means for the people listening is those are the people who try to answer questions that are coming against the Christianity, and they try to logically and reason with it and go, okay, this is why this is this, and they give it's apology is great for to give an answer to, and in the New Testament, it's asked of you like to give an answer of your Christian faith. But the thing I learned really quick, I know I didn't go to any particular training. I was naturally gifted in being able to listen, active listener. What I learned really fast is when it comes to apologetics, the question someone's asking you, like, well, why does God allow evil? It's not actually the question they're asking you. That's just the best they can come up with. If you go, okay, what do you mean by and you work it? If you really care, if you really care about answering their question to a satisfactory to them, not to you, not to make you feel like you're good, but if you care about what they're really asking, you'll listen intently and you'll figure out what real question. He's not asking about evil. He's asking you why God let his mother die of cancer. That's what he's really asking you. If you would pay attention just enough, you can actually weed through all the garbage of ontological arguments and cosmic, where'd God come from? You can get right past that to the heart of the issue. Why does their kid sick and their neighbors not? How come this happened to them? That's what they're asking. And they're asking for, and that's a legit question. And that's the thing I think people forget. And that works in business world. It's the eye to the ear. I mean, the ear to the mouth, pickpocket analogy you brought up. But that, I think, and that's where I oh, I don't even know how we got here. But I think that's the thing that people forget a lot of the times. Man, I forgot how
Well, it's
we
like when you go
wandered
to
down.
kids, when you have kids, they do root cause problem solving better than the craziest calculator in the entire world.
Is that
Um,
Texas Instruments?
yeah, this thing could eat
Yeah.
bullets, walk on water, and crap ice cream.
Wow.
It's pretty.
I have an iPhone probably does the same thing that thing does, just a little bit
You're
smaller.
probably right now.
Yeah.
Um, but kids, they just ask why. Why,
Yeah,
why? And then after about 4 or 5 of them, you get to the answer. They're better root cause problem solvers than
true.
any quant computer or any of that stuff. They just why, and then you get to the root, and it's like they just solved world hunger.
Yeah. Oh, that's where I was going with that. I think it goes back to that thing of just being, actually getting something out of a conversation.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I guess, what we're talking about, they just talk to each other, talk past them, and that might be an arrogance thing, an ego. A lot of people like to hear themselves talk. I have a podcast where I rant for an hour. Obviously, I love hearing myself talk, um, but a lot of people are really into it. But I love listening more because you get to the good stuff. You can mine some gold out of it. In this age of experts, like what we're talking,
Mhm.
especially, I mean, elite people in their craft, in their field. What you brought up a minute ago is where they're normally in a group of people that are not like that. Like their close circle.
Mhm.
They're a bit one of a kind in that circle. And I actually have a question about that because we've learned from. I mean, I'm going to say this. This is going to sound. It's going to sound like whatever it is. We learned from COVID that when people say, "Hey, I'm an expert," you kind of have to take a step back now. And we lived in an age of experts where everyone's got a doctor's degree and then they're just saying some stuff. You're like, "Wait, what? This makes no sense."
Mhm.
And it seems like the higher into. And I brought this up in my last podcast because a buddy of mine, he's loves nutrition. He's a sleep doctor, but he loves nutrition. Makes a whole podcast thing about nutrition. He's not a nutritionist. He just is passionate about it. But he's so well rounded that every question he gets is a well rounded answer to where he'll say, "I don't know about this, but this is what I think. Maybe an idea." And when it comes to these experts, these elite, the people that you're talking about that surround themselves with different people,
Mhm.
um, how much how often do you find people who do the best in those circles are well-rounded, and how well are they and how much is it just focused? Do you see what I'm asking here?
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
I have my own bias, and that's why I'm asking.
I think it's people that have a hunger to never stop competing, never stop getting better. So out of that competitive nature, they always want to get better. They're looking at how they're spending their time. And if they're not honing their craft and they're around somebody great, it's what can I get from this conversation? What can I learn from if hey, I'm a big time athlete or a big time musician or something, and I'm watching a painter. What can I get from a painter? What can I
Mhm.
get from a school teacher and how they deliver to kids and the command over an audience they have that you could get from. Um, I speak a lot all over the world. Um, if you look at somebody like a Travis Schwann, what can you grab from him that you can take his skills and how great he is with learning and kids and education and delivering new things, and you just see his method of delivery and you say, wow, I can apply that to 10,000 people in a speech. I could go bring that to the top commanders in the United States and teach them this. It's how people deliver stuff. Maybe it's a little bit of their swag, as long as it's authentic to you. But
Yeah,
you
yeah.
learn how the intonation of your voice, how you engage people, all of that you can take from how other people are doing the same thing.
Okay. I mean, that's kind of what I was. So here's where the root of my question comes from. You know the saying, "Jack of all trades, master of none."
Mhm. It's longer than that, though, right?
Is it? No, is it? I don't know.
Oh, yes.
Okay, well,
Yes.
give me the
Maybe some
elongated.
homework. I don't
Oh, you don't.
am I
Okay.
allowed to Google something on
Yeah,
here?
do whatever you want. This is my
The
podcast. We do
long
whatever we want
run,
here.
it's
Welcome to the Pardonable
longer than
Podcast.
that, and people bastardize the phrase.
I think I just did. I think I took it completely out of context. If it's not in the Bible, I will take it out of the context. Maybe some in the Bible too. Who knows?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I've
Okay. The
ever.
proverb was first recorded in 1732 in the form of "a jack of all trades is of no trade."
Oh, okay, okay.
It is blah 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 blah. Um, yeah, a jack of all trades
So it's
is
not
of no
longer.
trade.
It's just deeper because that's basically saying you're not a master none. You're not even. You don't even have a trade. which
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest, I think that, but I also lean on that side. And that's where I was going with the people who are well-rounded, because the conversation I was having before was like, you have 2 doctors, you're going to a doctor and they're gonna work on your brain, neurosurgeon, right? You got 2 of
Mhm.
them you can choose from. Both of them went to the same school, did all that stuff. Just one has like 3 points lower of a score on the grade test, right? And this is brain surgery. This is serious stuff. There's one that scored higher, about 5 points higher than the other one. But the other one knows how to change a tire on a car. Which one are you going to choose?
Tire in a car.
Right? Me too. And I think there's something invaluable about that well-rounded is you can be an expert, but if you can't do the simplest of tasks, makes me really worry about your ability to even critically think or problem
Well,
solve.
you have to be able to walk and chew gum.
Yeah, right? Okay.
That's it.
But I think people undervalue, and this is why I say that, because all that teaches you that changing I almost at this point, I think changing a tire on a car teaches you how to critically think, because it's not just it's physics, it's math, there's high risks at stake. Like there's something of value in this. Um
Patience.
Patience, I mean, and some pain, most likely, definitely
Mm.
some suffering if bad way. All of that stuff can teach you more. Exactly. Oh, dude, we've all been there. But I think that one lesson can teach you more than anything in a book, because it's applicable to almost every other scenario that you run into.
Mm.
And so if you're working on my brain, but you can't figure out how to make sure to loosen the nuts before you jack the tire up, and then you're like, why is the tire spinning when I'm trying to loosen it? That makes me nervous. And that's the thing I think about when it comes to successful people in business. And that was the thing I was wondering about you, because you know a lot of you obviously are very well rounded, and that's that salt of the earth thing. But how often do you is that something that's very common with successful people uh in your sphere, or no?
No, because most people are really good at one thing and they spend a majority of the rest of the time trying to convince other people that don't think they're great that they're great at that one thing. I think the people that are well rounded, they might be 80s and 90s, not hundreds, but because they're 80 at five things, they look like they're 100 at to various people. They look
Mm,
like they're the greatest of everything.
hmm,
Um, yeah, I see. There's a lot of people. The best one would be entertainers, right?
yeah,
Britney Spears isn't the best singer of all time. She's
yeah, yeah.
also not the hottest supermodel of all time.
Not now.
She's also not the yeah, well, yeah, but
She's a pretty good samurai.
they
Back to the
they
Japanese thing.
yeah, she's a good samurai with those knife videos now.
That's
But
right.
um, you look at different people. There really only was one Michael Jackson who had the voice and the dance and
Hmm.
the whatever. That's one in 30, 40, 50 years. They
Yeah,
have a Britney Spears every 5 years.
that's the Da Vinci thing. It's the Renaissance man. It's
That's right.
you're not only are you well-rounded, you're extremely gifted in those well-roundedness. That's a phenomenon. That's
Yeah.
not common, and that will probably only come around a few centuries. But
Yeah.
when it comes to just a group, and that's why I wanted to ask that, because I I brush, unbeknownst to you, I do brush shoulders with people that are high up the ladder, on various occasions. And
Hmm.
I sometimes I'm like, okay, they're extremely skilled in what they do. I would definitely take advice from them on this thing. But I can tell that they lack in some of the basic common sense things
Yeah.
of just in general. I mean, here's a great example. Look at just pick a politician, put them in a barrel and just point at one. They're really good at being a politician, but I don't think any of their lives are together except for maybe a few. They look
Well,
like they're
what do
all
you have
drunk.
to be good at? And you've heard this before, but I'll say it how I say it. The things to be a not a politician or a leader. So I think, there's certain people who come along that people follow because they choose to follow them for their
Yeah.
authenticity, their message, their demonstrate actuals, whatever. Um, and maybe you get a Trump or you get a whoever, whatever you think. But to be a career politician, what are the things you have to be good at? Top three or four things. I don't think anybody wants to be known for being good at those things.
I don't think they're good. You don't have to actually be good at anything except for convincing people that you're good at them. That's it. You don't have to have any skills whatsoever except for convincing people that you have skills. That's all. They're just selling themselves. They are the product and they're just making sure you buy it. That's all
Mhm.
that is. That kind of person makes me real worry. Like, I
Yeah,
get nervous around people like that,
me too.
because that means they got a price, and that price probably ain't even that high. They don't even value themselves enough to even build or create anything in their hands. They are the thing, and
Yeah.
that's like wearing a price tag on your forehead, and that price is 666. No, I'm just
It
maybe.
is,
Uh,
it is though. It
it kind of
is.
is. I mean, politicians aside, I run into people and I don't no hate on anybody. Like there's people that are just I don't know if it's a genetic thing or if it's just they're highly focused in one category. I actually sometimes, Michael, check this out. You're not going to believe this. I have self-doubt a lot. Like I second guess
Mhm.
myself a lot of the time throughout my life.
Sure.
My wife hates it. She'll ask me a deep question. I'll be like, I have to get back to you in like a day because I have to ruminate on this because when something and this is another thing that's gonna blow your lid. Um, I put majority of my effort when I'm conversating and listening and not lying, because I'm one of those few breeds of people that believe their word is legit.
Yeah.
When I say something that comes out of my mouth, it may sound like it's just running, from my head to my chances are I thought about it for a really long time. That's that second guessing thing come in. If it comes out of my mouth, chances are I hung out on it. Um, it's not off the cuff, it's not off the shoulder. Um, but that second guessing thing can hold me back in a lot of different areas of my life because, it where that confidence in what does come out of my mouth steals from time when I could have acted. So opportunities can come my way, um, and I can if I'm not prepared for them, they'll have to go by because I won't risk certain things, like the politician thing. I won't sell my soul just because the opportunity showed up. I'd have to really ruminate before I sell my soul. I got to at least converse with the devil a little bit. I'm not going to be those, I'm not going to sell it right off the crossroads. We're going to have to go to dinner or something. But I worry about that, and I wonder if that's a big thing when it comes to success. Are people either overly prepared, so when they meet an opportunity, they're ready to go, and does that only come from being very good at one thing? Do you see what I'm asking? When you meet successful people,
Yeah.
is it because they're so prepared because 'cause they've only focused on one thing? Or
No, I
no?
think it's their so when I got out of school, my first job was first and only salary job was Intel Corporation, and I was a microchip
Never heard of
engineer.
them. 'Em. I'm just playing.
Yeah, um, yeah, it makes all this stuff that we're doing work. Um, so what they valued a lot in the interview process was tolerance of ambiguity and delayed
Mhm.
gratification, like you said
Okay.
before, but tolerance of ambiguity, knowing that you're not going to have all the facts, knowing that you're going to make something that's going to hit a couple years from now, but you have to make steps towards that to eventually get there, and knowing,
Yeah.
okay, I don't quite know how to get there, but I know that whatever you give me, I'm going to do some sort of MacGyver thing and get me to the next scene of the show. And you look at tech or anybody who makes something, there's painters that paint it over things two, three times. There's
Yeah.
people that sketch and it looks bad and they make it look good. There's photographers that do things, and there's always some revision process, but the point is they're prepared and they know that um, it's not going to go perfect. The people who prepare to just be at one thing, you throw them a curveball and they short circuit, they choke, they pull an 8 mile and they
That's
can't
yeah.
wrap,
That's
whatever it
yeah.
is.
They got
um,
vomit on their sweater, mom spaghetti.
Mom
Yeah.
spaghetti. Yeah, so I look at it and I think the people that are prepared for the mess up and you play all the
Mhm.
scenarios that could happen versus what you want to happen, and know that when you get up there, hey, I'm going to take it as it comes to me, and I'm going to read the play, read the down and distance, call the appropriate play, and execute. um, the people who are structured problem solvers, the people that can call audibles, there's flexibility, and they know that it's not going to go how you think. Whatever you think it is, it ain't gonna go that way.
Yeah, yeah.
If it does, God bless you, and you're just gonna. But if you can maneuver and swerve and do some of this, it makes for a more exciting play, and usually those people can extend the play or get out of a situation or whatever it is. So that's who I think the great people are. I could give a great artist a red Crayola crayon, a blue Crayola crayon, a yellow Crayola crayon. They're going to be better than the guy with the Rock'em Sock'em Pixar animated whatever. If I
Yeah,
give that
yeah.
to Picasso or Renoir or whoever, um, some because they know how to use the tools. Given anything, any medium, any whatever, they're an artist. They know how to
Yeah, yeah.
create.
I think that's the answer I was looking for, 'cause I was hoping that that ability to that's that well-roundedness, like changing the
Yeah,
tire built into, whatever the expertise that you're going with. I always when you chose the doctor who could change the tire, I was like, "Oh god, I'm not an idiot, thank God," 'cause I would
yeah.
worry that's to me, I made that question up, but I think that's a great litmus test to find out
But
what
what
people are
happens
really.
when you get in there and all of a sudden, ooh, the scalpel went to this, or something did to that, or something crazy was unearthed in there? There's an alien, or somebody who can't think on the fly and is just like this, they shut down.
Yeah, that's that critical thinking thing. Yeah, that's interesting. Well, man, I think that we're pretty smart, me and you. I think we got the sky's the limit for both of us. I don't see it. I don't s
I'll like and subscribe. I'll learn some more on next week's
better like
show.
and subscribe. Exactly. You are next week's show, buddy. I hope you know that. I had a great time. I'd actually like to do this again if you're down. Because I had a few more
100%.
questions that we didn't quite get into. Matter of fact, I think I might ask you one more.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm trying to pick the right one. Because I got a laundry list here. You know what? Favorite color? What's your? No, I'm just playing. Although that is a good question. What is your favorite color?
Black.
Black. That's so
I got
lame.
in trouble when I was little. So the teacher, what's your favorite color? And they go up and down, little boy, little girl. I like pink. I like purple. Boys like red and blue, and whatever. I said, what do you like? And I said, black. And the teacher said, that's not a color. And I went, it's in the crayon box. What are you talking about? And they're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's absent of light, and blah, blah. I'm like, it's in the crayon box. It's a color.
Technically, it is. That's well, you won that argument. I can't believe the teacher didn't know it was in the crayon box. Um, that's our school system right there. That's that's why people can't read or write. Um, I hope people hear these conversations more often. The thing about like when it comes to podcasting, and I was just having this conversation too, because everything I do, I don't know if I'm going to be undeniable by any means, but I do want to be. I don't even know if I'll be good at this, but what I do want is I want everyone I sit down and talk to leave going, I'm better for this. This was not a waste of my time. That might be a low bar, but I think once you take that and you make that the centerpiece, the sky's the limit after that. That goes back to exactly what you said at the beginning. This isn't a question now. Now I'm just lecturing you. What you said at the beginning about exactly. Better take notes, Michael. I don't know if you know all this information, but this is valuable. Exactly. The thing about what you said in the beginning when we were talking about narcissism, you're like, it's not about me. It's not flashy. I think that's set up for maybe immediate success. Maybe you get up to the top, um,
Mhm.
but it's not long lasting. And then even if you do get to the top, how many stories do I hear about millionaires offing themselves, or their family leaves them, their kids hate them, and then you find out you were so successful in this thing, you
Well,
failed it.
that's it. They're measuring money. Their
Yeah,
definition of success is wrong. To me, success, I'm going to go on a little lecture here. To me,
dude, I was listening
success,
to this. Yeah,
here's success because people confuse money with success. Money you can light on fire. Watch your banks crash in 2 weeks and we'll see how successful you are. Okay?
oh boy, yeah,
Success,
that's
tough
true.
shit, right?
Yeah,
Uh, success is me showing up and putting out two good kids and
yeah,
making them great.
that's it.
Success is when people leave a conversation with me that they learned something or they got better. Success is when you start a company and everybody's life gets better. Success is when you're around people and you brought them up, you made their day better. The other thing is, you talk about greatness. Everybody has their level of greatness. Whatever, however I was made by God, I have an upper bound. I'm never going to be 7 feet tall. I'm never going to be good looking. I'm never going to be whatever. But I could be the best possible me. And
Yeah.
I know that sounds like stuff you tell your kids. That's why I tell my kids, I don't want you to be like my son. I don't want you to be anything like me. I want you to be the best possible you. And I think that when people say greatness, they're comparing themselves to somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great people don't give a flying about
You can
you.
say it.
They're
Yeah. Yeah.
competing against themselves. So that's something that maybe we didn't talk about. I think whoever is great, they're not paying attention to you. They don't care about you. They know they have no control over you, but they have 100% control over themselves. And they're just focused on being the best possible them. Those are people. That's greatness. So if you say, how do I define greatness? I'm not comparing myself to you. I may be great at something. You may tower over me, but I can still be the best me. And that's good enough because most people are half of what they could be or a quarter of what they could be. And it's because they're trying to measure themselves to somebody else. When
Mhm.
you stop comparing yourself to other people and you can just, like you said, get the gold from it or learn the beauty or take the beautiful stuff from and all the good stuff from all these little interactions, that you're going to be the best possible you. um, so I think that's greatness. When you are the best possible you, you're great. When you're
Yeah.
comparing yourself to somebody else, you're never going to get there.
Yeah, that's a good point. I totally agree. I think, matter of fact, if we go back to the beginning of the podcast with the popularity thing, um, you can't outcompete yourself for how many followers you get. There's nothing there to compete with. You're just competing with other people. That's what popularity is. It's you competing with other people. But what merit and ability, like you can be the greatest race car driver. You're not going to care if people are watching. You're caring if you win the race. That's something you compete with. And people who play video games, I remember being younger playing like Mario Kart. They had this setting that you could go where instead of racing with this is Michael, you don't care about this, but I'm gonna
I
nerd
play
out for a
Mario
minute.
Kart right now with my two kids in the
Okay,
basement before your podcast, and I
there we go.
lost.
Oh, good. You should lose. Lose at something once in a while.
Yeah.
Um, but the mode that you can play with other players and race, but you can also play ghost mode where it's literally a phantom of your own car, and you're just playing and over again your best time. You're just trying to beat your best time.
Hmm.
But that's what I was pointing out. I think you're right. That's how people get probably Usain Bolt when we brought him up. I wonder while he was training for that 9 seconds, if he was even thinking about beating other people, or if he was just trying to beat his first time or his best time. I bet you he was just trying to beat his
He's one of the
beat himself.
most
But yeah,
interesting people to study. So something that I'm incredibly fascinated with, and I always have, and it's how I'm wired. And it is something, if somebody said, what makes you different than a lot of people when you're talking about like a uniqueness or something, I never give a crap about you. I'm always trying to figure out how I can go do that and how to max out me. And there's people that are jealous or envious or whatever. I didn't really have that in me. And I think I'm not wired like I really don't care what someone else is doing. If you're doing great, I want to learn from it. If you suck, if I can help you, I'll help you. But either way, I'm not competing against you. I'm competing against me. And I think when you study great, I think everybody should study a musician. Everyone should study an athlete, an artist, a teacher, a mother, a father, a preacher, whatever it is. Study greatness in whatever, and that will make you great. Um, the lack of doing that and go, oh, I don't like rock and roll. Well, I don't like rap. Well, now they fused it all together. Everything good comes from something else. If you just keep doing the exact same stuff, you're always going to get what you got. Um,
yeah,
I'm very fascinated with Bolt. And when a lot of people talk about the three big sports, baseball, basketball, football, there's a guy that won what, gold medals or something, or more than that, and fastest man on the planet for 3 Olympics in 100 and 200 and the 4x1. So maybe 12 gold medals. Sorry, can't even multiply. That guy was pretty darn special. When you look at how he prepared on the track that he went, he wasn't in some crazy Olympic thing. He trained in Jamaica in his hometown on Chevron, you know,
Yeah.
dirty tracks with a fat old gym coach that just put him to work, and he didn't have 30 Nike people around him or whatever. He just trained. He drank coconut water because there's coconuts in the coconut tree, and you see that guy put out a bunch of badasses just waking up, working
Mhm.
hard, and going. It's fascinating. If somebody wants to study somebody interesting, watch Usain Bolt. And he's also one of the only guys sprinting wise all the way back to Carl Lewis and under, never tested positive for steroids ever in track.
Wow.
Everybody that has held a record or medal other than him has tested positive at least once.
Wow. Everybody? What about Bruce Jenner? Did he test positive?
Um,
Maybe not
I,
steroids.
I,
Hormones, maybe. That's it. I had to say something controversial. This was going too easy. Anyway, love you, Caitlin. Um, do you know? I'm gonna throw this thing in. Have you ever heard of? Obviously, you've heard of Maker's Mark, but not the whiskey. Do you know the story behind the watchmaker's Maker's Mark? Do you know that tale?
no, I don't.
This is where I was thinking about that battling yourself. So I'll give you a little bit of a story. And this is a fairy tale. It's made up, but there's this watchmaker, like he would just make pocket watches, and he had a son he was apprenticing, and then at the end of every watch he would make, or if he went and corrected a watch and fixed it, he would take the etcher and he'd etch his initials on the inside of the watch where the things were, and he'd shut it and lock it, and he would do this every time, and his son would be like, "Dad, why are you etching your initials in the inside of the watch? No one even knows how to open them. No one's even going to know that those are there." And he tells his sons, because God knows, and I want to make sure God knows I made this watch. And it was just that idea of transcendent. Like, you're not competing against anybody. You're doing it for a transcendent, even if it's yourself. There's a transcendent. Somebody's watching it, and people always say you're your truest self when no one's watching. And I think about that a lot, and that's that Maker's Mark watch thing. But I also think you're your truest self when no one it's it goes back to your name, and that's why I think I like that moniker that guy gave you, because you speak softly but you carry a big stick, um, and I think that's not that, you know what I'm talking about. um, we went from Caitlyn Jenner to, was that Winston Churchill, to innuendos. This has been a great podcast. I love having you on. Either way, long story short, I think that idea that I'm trying to beat myself. I'm only great if I can against myself, or I'm only doing good not because what people see but what God sees. Those all things kind of revolve around what really is success. And so even if I'm never a millionaire, I'm still pretty successful. And I would like to keep it that way. Not the not being millionaire part. I'm cool if I become a millionaire, but you know
Well,
what I'm.
what's funny is let's say let's say you don't have it today, a million.
Yeah,
You reach a certain age, you drink your coffee, you do your stuff, you wear your whatever. If you look at some of the richest people on earth, they don't have jewelry. They're dressed like you and me, wearing a
yeah,
t-shirt or something like that. They got some kind of beard, whatever.
hopefully.
Uh, you know, they feel no need to, pop the collar and be big baller and all this other stuff. They don't have to. They already won the game. So that's
Already,
what's funny is
yeah, yeah.
somebody goes, "Hey, what happens if you had $1 million?" I go, "What happens if you already have it? If you got it, then what? Now what? You're still going to do what you love. You're still going to do the stuff you do. Hopefully, you're just, um, tomorrow maybe you do have a couple nicer things or do something nicer for your family or whatever. But um, big deal.
Yeah,
Once you reach a certain age, that money is not real. It
it's
is,
true.
but money's not real.
It's just
Um,
currency.
Time's real.
That's
And
currency
if you
too.
have a skill and you're
Yeah,
good and you can make stuff, stuff costs money. So if you know how to make stuff, by default, you can make money. If you know how to use time and you master that, you can make a hell of a lot of money.
that's
But
true.
money, I mean, you can live life with not a lot and be very happy. Some of the happiest people you ever meet, they don't have a whole lot and they don't give a shit.
Yeah, that's a good point too. You know what else makes money? Pickpocketing, like we brought up
Oh no.
before.
Oh no.
Um, Michael, dude, it was great. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and
Oh,
chat with
thank
me. I
you.
know these are just some off the wall topics, but these are the things that I really zone in on. I was
That's
gonna
why I
ask,
like talking with you. That's why I like talking with you anyways.
right?
I like to talk about all of it. Yeah.
I was gonna ask you about stock trading, but no, I just threw that one out the window. That's not. I'm just playing.
Split
Half
the
of the
market.
I was telling my wife, I was like, I'm writing going back to this interview, and then we'll wrap up. Complete full circle. I was sitting down with my wife, and I was telling her about trying to write this introduction. I was like, I want to do it right. Michael's a friend of mine. I want to make sure this introduction is. I want to get better because I write a lot. I could be a writer because I spend so much time doing it. And so I was like, I want to make it good. And man, I half of your stuff was Greek to me. I was like, I don't know what any of this stuff is. Like, it's so outside my realm. And I was like, Apple, I recognize that one. Xbox, I recognize that. What is this? I had no idea. So just letting you know, I appreciate you talking to me. I didn't have any of your other topics. I still think this is a genuine conversation. If you listening right now, you're listening to this and you didn't pick out any gold, then were you even listening? Why are you even here? Get out of here. Like and subscribe and then leave. Get out of here. Um, anyway, Mike, you have anything else? Do you want people to follow you? You want,
No, no.
nope.
Follow your mom, follow your dad, follow your
Call your
brother and
mom.
sister. Don't follow me. I'm nobody to follow. Go be the best you.
That's it, man. All right. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning into this podcast. Again, this is I was really looking forward to this one because I've had conversations with Michael, and they're always good. There's always something good out of that. So it was almost even if I mean, I had questions I wrote down, but had I no questions off the cuff. What are me and Michael going to talk about? Would have been gold, pristine, right off the bat. This is how we roll. This is what happens when you surround yourself by people who can listen, actively listen, have something to say behind it. So. Um, I'm gonna second what he said. Go out there, be your best, um, and come back for some more. I can't let you off the hook that easily. Go out, be your best, and like and subscribe. I will see you guys back here next. Oh, I might try to get him to come back on if he's got the time, and we'll go into some of those other questions I had. Some really good ones. I like going deep, and we honestly we probably just scratched the surface. We could have gone way deeper than that, and maybe next time we will. So be looking out for that part too. But either way, thanks for tuning in. Go to pardonwillmerch.com, buy a shirt, buy that one if you want. I'll wear it next podcast so you can see what it looks like on a human person. But yeah, go support people, support your artists because they're important. Well, some of them are important. But anyway, you guys have a great week. I will see you back here next time.